Hi, welcome. I've been here last year at the App Promotion Summit. It was a very good experience. And I was talking about Lavu, our apps. When we started last year, we were already pretty big in Germany, in Austria and Switzerland. And we were exactly starting expanding in Europe, in France, Spain, Italy, and then UK, and then Brazil as well. It was a very good experience at the Promotion Summit, and we were starting in October last year doing user acquisition. And I really wanted to talk about that last year because it excited me to talk about something that we starting to get some results, but we really just at the beginning of it. This year is exactly the same topic. I will run you through exactly our experiences in retargeting for our user base. This is our app. Very good one. Thank you. And we will talk about mobile retargeting, how to drive app engagement and reduce the churn rate. I'll go quickly through Lavu as an app. Lavu is a social discovery network. It's a social network where you can definitely meet new people. It's an iPhone and Android app, and it has a website as well. It's currently the strongest, largest social discovery network in the Austria, Switzerland, Germany region, and we're very, very strong also in Brazil, second at the moment, Spain, France, Germany, UK, and Italy. We have a pretty young user base, 90% definitely on the app and 10% on the website. Good split between women and men. It's again very young user base, very active. I'll quickly explain about social discovery networks because some people know more or less the concept. But what's important to remind is that these apps and these websites are highly engaging. They're usually highly monetized. Usually always have in-app purchases. They use more than once a day. They're very engaging for a certain period of times. And then they use in parallel with other apps. As you can see, this is something that not everybody notices. Social discovery networks are one of the hidden champions of the App Store. This is the Germany iPhone and Android top grossing. And as you can see, we both on those platforms in the top 10. So, as I discussed, last year, I announced that we reached 6 million registered users. It was very exciting. And as again, now I can definitely approve we are to 19 million users. We've been growing and growing and acquiring users all over the place, mostly definitely organics, and then helped by a lot of very well thought data-backed marketing. So we've done this. We've grown extremely well. I'm very proud of it. The team did a very, very good job. Once you reach this amount of users, once you reach a very large presence in a country, it happens something like this. You have a large active user base, and then in the course of a year, of course, some of these users churned. Some of these users became inactive. This is a very, very classic pie. We have active users, some inactive users for a longer period of time, users that churned in the previous month, and then the new user they are acquiring. And this is happening, of course, month to month to month. And as long as and the most you grow, you keep on acquiring users, you keep on getting organic users, probably the inactive pie will get bigger. It's just a numeric thing. What do we do at this point? We thought, there is probably something that we need to do. This is a nice image because it conveys exactly like a metaphor that it's used a lot during conferences, and it conveys exactly what I mean. You've got a bucket, and this bucket's coming a lot of water, and there are some holes in the bucket. You're losing some of this water. I'm a marketing person. I'm doing marketing analytics now. But of course, my biggest advice is always go back to product and fix the patches in the hole. The most important thing is that you retain the user themselves. You stop the churn before doing marketing. But as again, we are doing marketing, so we cannot just sit there and wait for the developers to create some very good new features that will retain users, which, by the way, we will have a very good release next month. So what do we think? We started analyzing patterns of usage inside the app. And we understood that, as usually happens with social discovery networks, our app has a very intensive usage for a period of time, and then users become inactive. Some of these come back for another period, then they become inactive again. And a small amount will then have, let's say, a third life cycle. What we definitely wanted to reduce, what we definitely wanted to eliminate, the users, of course, that never came back after a certain period, and make these inactivity periods as small as possible, or actually eliminate them. So we thought, well, let's do mobile remarketing. I've had a speech from Simon before me and from Eric as well that was definitely related to the topic. One was about deep linking, nice introduction. One was about programmatic buying, which has absolutely to do with remarketing. We thought, okay, what are our options? We have an internal system, of course, of retaining the user with push notification. We're doing that brilliantly. We send notification at the right moment. We're a social network, so when you have a real interaction, we send you a notification. This works really well because it's a real thing that you want to check out. But let's say the users have turned them off. Let's say the users have become inactive. What are our other options in the market? We've had several different channels that we can actually go there and tell our previous users, come back to the app. There's something interesting to see. Social networks, Twitter, Facebook, definitely ad networks, AdWords, RTBs, or real-time bidding, demand-side platforms, and then we had the option to send emails to those users. Our goals in our remarketing strategy were to stimulate the recent inactives that became inactive, let's say 7 days to 14 days, reduce the overall churn rate of our app, reduce the size, as I told, of the inactivity period, increase the amount of interaction, and then, of course, in the end, create more revenues from the returned users. We at Lavu have a lot of information about our users. We're a social network, so they usually tell us their location, their sex, some, of course, their preferences. They create in-app purchases. So what did we decide? We said, okay, let's see. We have geo. We have gender. Of course, we know which platform they're active on. We know if they've done purchases or not. And they know exactly when did they become inactive. So let's say we created several audiences, 85, I believe. And we say, okay, we have all these audiences. We know exactly what these audiences are worth it. So let's go there and reactivate them. And then, of course, came a lot of issues. Remarketing is not easy, I will tell you. There's a lot to be done. There's lots need to be done in the market, and there's a lot of work behind it. When you start analyzing your audience, you will see you have several different IDs. You have mobile IDs that actually can be used in ad networks and social networks and real-time bidding. You have SDK or automatic generated audiences that will be flushed in from your tracking partner, from your analytics partner to the ad networks. We have social networks ID in case you have, let's say, Facebook Connect, Twitter Connect, Google Plus Connect. And then you have email addresses that you can fill in. And this vast amount of IDs needs to be mixed and matched in the right channel. And some of these channels will adapt both. Some of these channels will let you use all of them together, some of these channels not. And you will have to understand that, of course, maybe an automatic created audience is the fastest, is the most clean, but sometimes you're not sure what's going on in there. It's a black box. So you prefer to extract your data, send it to the user, and exactly retarget these ones. And then we thought, okay, definitely we're going to do social networks, we're going to do real-time bidding, and we're going to do ad networks. What happens in this case? We have very, very large number of users in the millions. We extract these IDs from these users. 90% are foundable. Let's say some of these users opted out of mobile IDs. Some of these users have, let's say, emails that are not valid anymore. Some of these users have telephone that are dead. So you have inactive users. Some of them you find IDs. Then you send it to the networks or to the real-time bidding, and they match it. This is a black box. You don't know what's going on in there. You send it, and you hope that they get matched. Then you have to, of course, start bidding on these users, and you have to hope that the user sees the ad. The users have to click on the ad, and then you hope that the user does not they install the app, so it goes directly through a deep link, and it's a much shorter funnel. Or the user actually deinstalled the app, so you have to convince him to install the app again. This is an additional step, and it's much more complicated. What are the limitations? It's beautiful if you have a lot of audiences. You can make it as small as possible, and you can really say, okay, I want to spend so much on this cohort, and I want to spend so much on this other cohort. But there's a huge limitation that your audience must be large enough for the networks. This is true, of course, also in user acquisition when you select some parameters, and it's extremely true on retargeting. Anything below 300,000 is too small. Then there's the problem of user inactivity. Let's say you have a lot of users accumulated in years of activity. Probably users that are 1 to 3 months old will not convert. The users that are really worth it are the ones that stay, they lapsed 7 days, 14 days, maximum 1 month. There are some issues in the market. Tracking is complicated. There are a lot of partners that have different metrics for actually what is a reactivation. And each channel that you're going to use has a different way of actually calculating this reactivation. Sometimes these networks are not that good. They're not that remarketing ready, and they will just not optimize on this value. My advice is that you abstract a little bit sometimes on the automatic optimization of this network, and you just, let's say, do your own. So you know exactly the user that click on a certain ad, and you optimize your own on this click. It's, of course, not the best way. We would all love to have automatic optimization, but that's sometimes at the moment not possible. Again, what is the most effective audience? Men, women, purchase, not purchase. It's definitely inactivity. I've been talking to a lot of DSPs for real-time bidding, and that's what all of them told me. The most important thing is that you go after as fast as possible to the 7 years old, 7 days inactive users. You spend as much as possible on them because they are easiest to reactivate. Then the 14 days are still okay. They might have not deinstalled the app, and they usually don't. 1 month, they start to get old. They might have deinstalled the app, and they might have really lost interest in it. 3 months and more are probably lost. What is the best way to work on a bidding system? It's definitely to know how much money you can spend on your users. Don't just collect a bunch of IDs, just send it and start reactivating them. Just know exactly how much you can spend on these ones. Know exactly, let's say, in the limit of the minimum accessible amount of users. I want to spend this amount of this user because they were X whale, they spent a lot of money. I will spend a little bit less on the casual, so let's say 10, 20 cents will be enough. There are star users that have been very active for a month, and then now they're inactive for 7 days. Let's really go after them. Geo is very important as well as in user acquisition, and in our case, gender, because we're a social network. It's one of the most important variables. Good link to the 2 speeches before me. When you have time constraint, let's say I want to do remarketing, but there's a lot of technicalities into it. Should I go with dynamic creative, or should I go with a lot of deep links? Which one is the one that works best? Again, from our experience and from talking to a lot of partners, there is not really, for a lot of categories, a proof that dynamic creative work. It's enough probably that if you know your target, if you know what they've done, and then you create a set of creative that is a catch-all in this specific segment. What's much, much more important is that you create the right deep link. First of all, because you really don't want to waste time on that reactivation to get the user to your target. And second, because the user that did not deinstall the app and you can send it to a deep link is much more valued than the user that deinstalled the app. So always prefer custom deep link, several deep link, very elaborated, sophisticated deep links. Now to the key metrics that we used. As again, we started recently doing remarketing, and this is just to tell you what are our issues were, what we encountered during that journey, and what my advices are. For us, what's very important was, first of all, successful comeback. We want the user to come back to the app. Again, if he still has the app, successful deep link with an app open. If he deinstalled the app, we want the user to install the app again. Then again, we want to look at what is the post-reactivation retention rate of these users. Was he active before? Is he active more or less than before? Because don't forget that you spend money on bringing this user back. And then again, which is the average revenue? In our case, it's, let's say 30 days, the average revenue after the reactivation against the before reactivation. Is it worth you to spend this additional money to bring him back? And now for results. Better. It's not so easy. Remarketing is definitely still complicated, and there's a lot of things that need to be considered. In our case, we discovered that we have a very low uninstall rate in the 7-14 days, and this means it was easy to reactivate those users. We successfully managed to drive part of the churn rate overall, massively targeting deactivated users. And regarding new revenues, we will see in the next few months if it's interesting, if it's valuable. Thank you for your attention.